Deep beneath the untamed jungles of central Vietnam lies a hidden universe so massive, it has its own weather system. For millions of years, it remained completely undiscovered. Today, we are trekking into the largest cave on planet Earth. The journey begins with a grueling hike to a remote village, the last human outpost before the wilderness takes over. To reach the entrance, we have to cross dozens of rushing rivers that have carved this landscape over deep geologic time. Our first stop is Hang Son, a massive cavern that serves as the gateway to our ultimate destination. We spend our first night camped on a subterranean beach, surrounded by absolute darkness and echoing water. At first light, we push through the back of the cave, re-entering the sweltering jungle to find the true giant. You feel Hang Son Doong before you see it. A freezing, violent wind howls out of the earth, warning you of what lies below. Entering the cave requires an 80-meter vertical descent straight down into absolute, crushing darkness. Hanging by a single rope, the sweltering heat of the jungle is instantly replaced by a deep, damp chill. Touching down on the cavern floor, the true scale of this underground universe begins to reveal itself. The space is so incredibly vast that our high-powered headlamps can't even reach the ceiling above us. Entire city blocks, complete with 40-story skyscrapers, could comfortably fit inside the passageways we are walking through. Ancient limestone formations tower over us like the petrified ruins of a forgotten underground civilization. We follow a roaring subterranean river that is still actively carving and expanding the cave to this very day. We establish our first camp deep in the abyss. We are now completely cut off from the surface world. When you turn off your light, you experience a sensory deprivation so absolute it feels physically heavy. Waking up on day 3, a strange, ghostly blue light guides us further down the main passageway. The terrain becomes incredibly treacherous. We scramble over massive boulders left behind by an ancient ceiling collapse. We reach the first dolin, a section where the cave roof collapsed thousands of years ago, letting the sky back in. The sight is genuinely unbelievable. A perfectly formed sunbeam cuts through the dark, illuminating an underground fog. Because the cave is so massive and contains its own lake, it actually generates its own isolated weather system. Beneath the skylight, something impossible happens. A thriving, untouched jungle grows entirely underground. This is the Garden of Eden, a subterranean rainforest perfectly preserved from the outside world. Towering trees stretch desperately toward the sunlight, creating an oasis in the middle of the pitch-black void. This isolated ecosystem supports troops of monkeys and strange, unpigmented insects that have evolved entirely in the dark. Near the jungle edge, the ground is littered with some of the rarest geological formations on the planet. These are cave pearls, formed over thousands of years by single drops of water coating grains of sand in calcite. Leaving the underground jungle behind, the cave violently swallows the light once again. The trek becomes brutal. We are forced to wade through freezing, chest-deep water in absolute darkness. In these lightless depths, blind, ghostly fish swim through the flooded corridors, unaffected by our presence. The walls themselves tell a prehistoric story, embedded with 400-million-year-old coral fossils. Exhausted and freezing, we reach our final camp, a bizarre stretch of white sand buried miles beneath the earth. Camping out here feels like being stationed on a desolate moon base. The isolation is total and deeply humbling. Despite the mud, the cold, and the darkness, there is nowhere else on this planet I would rather be. We sleep to the rhythmic dripping of water, gathering strength for tomorrow's final, massive obstacle. Our exit is blocked by a massive, flooded section of the cave. We have to cross a dead-silent subterranean lake. The water is perfectly still, reflecting the jagged ceiling so clearly it feels like we are floating through open space. At the end of the lake, our path hits a dead end, the Great Wall of Vietnam. This towering, 90-meter wall of sheer, wet calcite is the only way out of Hang Son Doong. Escaping the abyss means trusting your gear and hauling your entire body weight up a nearly vertical mudslide. Every inch is a battle. The wall is incredibly slick, and fatigue from the last 4 days burns in every muscle. Hanging in the darkness, surrounded by echoing water, you have to push through pure physical exhaustion. Looking down into the lightless void below, the sheer verticality of the obstacle is absolutely terrifying. With one final, desperate push, we breach the top of the Great Wall. The hardest part is over. Staring back into the abyss, you realize how incredibly lucky you are to have witnessed its secrets. Turning toward the exit, the pitch black finally gives way. A faint, glowing light bleeds into the tunnel. The air suddenly turns thick, warm, and humid. The smell of the living jungle rushes in to greet us. Stepping out into the blinding tropical sun, the sensory overload of the surface world is instantly staggering. Surviving Hang Son Doong is a mental and physical marathon that completely redefines your understanding of scale. It is a fierce reminder that our planet still holds ancient, colossal mysteries hidden right beneath our feet. We mapped the surface, we reached the stars, but the deep earth remains one of our final, greatest frontiers. The underground universe is real. Where will your lens take you next? Subscribe to Wander Lens for more uncharted expeditions.